welcome back and welcome to day 2 of our 5-day Beginners Yoga Challenge, a collaboration with Flow with Grace Yoga and a conscious community. So yesterday we learned how to warm up the body and how to take rest whenever we need in a yoga class. So today we're going to go over some standing postures. Now this doesn't mean that these are the only standing postures you'll see in a yoga class, but they are very common and it gives you the foundational understandings of all the standing postures. So you'll know how to modify, how to protect yourself, and what the teacher may be talking about when you take a class in the future. All right, so today we're not going to need anything more than our mat and maybe some water, and when you're ready, we'll be back here and get started. Today we're going to start by re-warming our body and getting ourselves ready to do these postures that we're going to learn about. So we're going to go back to yesterday's knowledge and we're going to do 2 Surya Namaskar A, so 2 sun salutations to get the blood flowing, get us warmed up, and get our bodies ready. So we'll meet at the top of our mat. Alright, so meeting in Tadasana, we're rooting down, spreading the toes, rooting all 4 corners of the feet into the mat. Roll the shoulders up and back, quads and cores engaged. Take a big breath here, arrive. Inhale, our arms up overhead. Exhale, we'll fold forward. Inhale to come halfway up. Exhale, plant the hands. Step back, find your plank. Exhale, we'll come down, Chaturanga. Inhale, find your back bend. And exhale, we'll come back, downward facing dog. Now remember, we're going to be here for 3 to 5 breaths. If you have very long breaths, it might only be 3. You can take your time here to recuperate. Maybe walk out the heels or come down and find your child's pose. On your next inhale, look to the hands. Walk your feet forward. Inhale to finish and come up halfway. And exhale to fold. Inhale, arms reach in front of the head and reach all the way up to standing. Exhale, bring your hands to heart center in prayer. Release them down by your sides, back to Tadasana. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, arms reach up. And exhale to fold forward. Inhale to find a flat back. And exhale to plant the hands, step back, find your plank. I'm going to do the modified version, so take a peek up at the screen if you need a little reminder. Exhale to your Chaturanga. Inhale, find your back bend. And exhale, we'll come all the way back to downward facing dog. Taking a few deep breaths here. You're welcome to bring the knees down, and again, take your rest either in child's pose or in down dog. On your next inhale, look to the hands and walk your feet forward. Finish the inhale, find that leg halfway up. And exhale to fold. Inhale, arms reach up overhead and all the way up. And exhale, hands come to heart center. Release them down by your side. Big breath in and out. Beautiful. So you're welcome to pause the video if you need to warm up a little more and you want to repeat that. If you're ready, ready to go, we'll jump in and start with our first standing posture. From Tadasana, we're gonna do all of our transitions standing in our mountain pose. So sometimes you'll see transitions in a yoga class to step forward from downward facing dog, but we're just gonna work with stepping back from standing. So nice and simple, we're in our mountain pose, and we're gonna start with our crescent lunge. So this is a very common lunge that you'll find in a yoga class. So you're gonna shift your weight into your right foot and take a big step back with your left. You're gonna keep the heel lifted and come up on the back toes. From here, you might need to adjust your stance. You're gonna bend the front knee so that it's stacked over the ankle. You're gonna press back through the heel so that you can find some lift through the back of that left leg. And this is our crescent. You're welcome to keep your hands on your hips or full expression. Reach the arms up by your ears. This may be a lot, and it's okay. You can come out and take rest if you need. I'm just gonna stay here so that I can point out some alignment cues. So you might hear in a class to keep lunging forward. So that's to press that front knee towards the toes a little bit more. You might hear to reach and engage the core. You might hear press back with the heel, like I said earlier. But this is your crescent lunge. You might also hear to square your hips. So some people, when they come in this, if they have tight hip flexors, it's natural to kind of turn like this. So we're not quite square with the front edge of our mat. So if that's the case, you can use your hands and you want to drive that left hip forward and right hip back. Beautiful, step forward. We're going to repeat it on the other side so that we're nice and even. Shift the weight into the left foot. Step our right foot all the way back. And again, finding all those little alignment cues. Press forward, lifting up. Arms reach out. Nice, strong, steady breath here. And remember, if this is too much for you in a class, you can always step forward. Find your Tadasana. Recover your breath. Beautiful. We'll step forward. Back to Tadasana. So that is our crescent lunge, one thing that comes up quite often in a class. All right. Another one is Warrior One. It's very similar, but a little bit different. So again, shift your weight into your right foot. Big step back with the left. This time, instead of being up on the back toes and having that heel push back to lift the leg, we're gonna have the back foot on a 45-degree angle. We also have our legs train tracked. So what this means is that we can square our hips a little bit easier and our legs are a little bit wider than hip distance. We're still lunging through that front leg, and then we're going to lift our arms up again. So same cues you might hear, lunge forward in that front knee. You might hear to push that back heel towards the mat. Again, that's to help lengthen the back leg. Square the hips, and arms reach. Take one breath here. Then step forward, Tadasana. We'll repeat on the other side. Shift the weight into the left foot. Big step back with the right. Find your train tracked legs. And then heel comes down, foot's at a 45. Square the hips. And arms reach up. Take 2 breaths here. On the inhale to follow, bring your hands to your hips and step forward. Find your Tadasana. Take a breath here. Beautiful. All right. Another very common one, and we're going to do a transition from this as well. So again, shift your weight into your right foot. We're going to take a big step back with the left. This time, our foot's at a 45-degree angle, except we're going to pivot our hips. So from here, again, lunging forward, arms reach up, warrior two. So we're pushing that back edge of our left foot in towards the mat, even the weight out, lunging forward, arms reach up and nice and strong at shoulder height. Looking towards that middle finger of your front hand. Take one breath. Beautiful. Now from here, we're going to transition to a posture called triangle. So you're going to straighten that front leg, keep a micro bend in the knee here. You're going to reach forward with that front hand and bring that hand to the inside of that right knee. Our left arm reaches up overhead. And then inhale, come back, warrior two, hands to the hips, step forward, Tadasana. So that was a little bit tricky, I threw that one at you. We're gonna repeat on the other side. Shift the weight to the left foot, big step back, lunge, pivot the hips, arms reach up, warrior two. Looking towards that front middle finger. So we want to scissor our legs towards each other, even though they're spread far apart. The inside of our legs is nice and strong, as if you're gonna pull and drag them across the floor to meet each other, like they're magnets really trying to get towards each other. Straighten that front leg, transition to triangle, push forward with that left hand, and then fall. Right arm reaches up overhead. A micro bend in that front knee just to protect it. Back to warrior two. Hands to the hips and step forward. Tadasana. Take a few breaths here. You wiggle it out. Finding all that foundational strength that we've developed in this pose. All right. The next one we use in a class to help heat the body. And you'll notice, we won't stay here too long, but if you do hold this posture, it can get quite intense and you can feel the heat generating from within. So we're gonna bring the big toes to touch and the heels are slightly parted. Another version of this, if this is uncomfortable, is to just have the feet hip distance apart and parallel with each other. Whichever variation works for you. Then you're going to sit low, fold over the thighs like in child's pose. Ideally, you want to sweep the floor with your fingertips, but it's not necessary. And then you want to reach the arms up overhead, keeping that seat, like we're sitting in the chair. This is called Utkatasana, or chair pose. Arms are nice and strong, legs are strong. Take one breath here. Exhale it all out. Inhale, come back up, arms come by our sides. So that is our chair pose. A great way to reheat the body. As teachers, we like to use it to keep us warm as we transition, to keep us protected as we move through our sequence. Okay, so we're gonna move on to balancing postures. And there's two that I'm going to use today. So number one is tree pose. So just from mountain pose as we have been, you're gonna shift your weight into your right leg. From here, you're gonna bend the left knee and spin it out towards the side. Then you're gonna place the foot either at the right ankle, on the right calf, or on the inner thigh. You want to help rotate that hip out so that the knee ideally shoots right out to the side, and then you can bring your hands to prayer. So no matter where you are, we have the same foundation in place as our Tadasana. So all four corners of the foot are rooting down in that right foot. Nice strong through the quad, and maybe you can play with placing the foot at different levels of the leg. There's no better or worse option. At the end of the day, the goal is to balance. So the foot being on the thigh is not the goal. And then release that foot down. We'll switch over to the other side. Left foot roots down, right foot spins out. Again, placing it either on the ankle, inner calf, or inner thigh. Hands can come to prayer at heart center,
and you can find a focal point. So one thing in your line of sight that isn't moving, and this is going to help you keep that balance. Your core is nice and strong. Take one more breath here, and then let it go. Beautiful. So that is our tree pose. The next pose that I'm going to show you is Warrior 3. This can be very challenging, so take your time with it. Don't worry about if you're stable, because that's not the goal. If you're super stable in a balancing posture, then you're not really getting all the benefit from the posture. So if you're shaky and wobbly, it means that you're progressing, which is beautiful. So you're going to take a little step forward with your right foot. Fan out those toes, all four corners of the foot root down, and then you're going to shift your weight forward. You can keep your hands in prayer at the heart or on the hips. Shift your weight into that leg, and you're going to slowly kick that left foot up behind you. So to do this, you're engaging through the hamstrings and the glutes and the low back, and then you're going to start to hinge. So ideally, you want to be kind of like a T position, and then you can bring the arms out to the side or in front. But it's okay, you want to have the hips squared, so even if you're here, this is a beautiful start, and over time you can start to progress into a deeper version of the pose. Come back to Tadasana, we'll switch sides. We'll take a little step forward with the left foot, shift our weight, and then slowly start to kick that right leg up, finding your depth in the pose here. Playing with arm variations, and then coming back up. Awesome. So those are some basic standing postures that I wanted to go over with you, and those really kind of give you an idea of what a standing sequence might look like in a class. And the foundations are all the same, so even if there's a different posture that you experience, just remember all those little foundational tricks. So you are rooting down through the feet, you're nice and strong through the core and the quads, and you can just focus on that magnetization feeling of bringing the feet together on the mat if they're spread out, and that is going to elevate your practice greatly. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining with me today, and I'm excited to get started tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.